Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the sort of controversial animated DC movie, The Killing Joke.
Now, the first R-rated animated film from DC, this movie adapts the popular comic arc of the same name, and we learn the origin of the Joker and how he came to be the enemy of Batman, all while unraveling his most deranged plan against him and commission recording.
And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification with the updates of future podcasts and older pause videos.
Now, this movie, Phoenix warned us that it might be something we didn't care for. I'm happy to say that we were surprised at actually the cohesiveness of the story and the storytelling, the characters, the action. It actually turned out to be a heck of a lot better than we were expecting, and you can kind of understand why it's popular. It's not the type of DC movie we would normally care to watch, but it's a good story, and it's told well.
And like we said, it's based off the comic, which showed probably Joker as at his worst.
Most deranged.
Yeah, most deranged for Batman by going after people he knew. Now, part of this movie got controversy because of two things. One would be that the first 30 minutes of the film was entirely flashback. Not of the Joker, but between Batman and Batgirl and what happened to them no longer being in partnership. And then they thought, okay, it's about Joker, but you spent 30 minutes on that, and they were pretty upset. And then the other half would be what happens between Batman and Batgirl that we cannot say explicitly on here, but apparently it was something that happened in the comic, and it was something people never thought Batman or Batgirl would do, and they were like, why is this in a movie? Why is this even here? And I guess they wanted to stay true to the comic, so they left it in. And if you've seen the movie, you know, and you can say we were pretty surprised that it happened. It was like, okay, that's not a route you expected to go if you didn't read the comic.
Now, I had heard, I won't say rumors of this because it's not a rumor, it's true, but I had heard tellings of this and it being mentioned on media like Tumblr many years ago. And many, I mean, like long before YouTube. And so I wasn't surprised. I just didn't know where the story was going to come up at and which comic it was in. But I had actually heard about what happened. And so finally got to see it here. I think it was really toned down for this movie, though.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was probably a lot more graphic and informative in the comic itself. So for those of you who have read it, you'll know. And if you want to give us a little more spotlight onto why this happened in this particular comic, let us know in the comments below. Now, another reason this is a standout movie is because of the Joker's backstory. It's very different from anything we had seen in any other movie or in the comics that we've read, because we haven't read this one. And it gave you a more empathetic view of the Joker prior to what happens toward the end. You saw the backstory and you were like, wow, and you had empathy toward him because of what happened. And then he says those words that let you know there's not a chance for redemption, not a chance in hell you're gonna like him, not a chance in hell he's gonna be forgiven. And those words were, it's too late.
Pretty much. And he was aware at the point it gets to the end of the movie, and it sort of just stops. It just stops right there because they kind of build up of what he did to Barbara Gordon, is how she becomes Oracle, and what he does to her father. And Batman wants to stop once and for all, but of course not kill him. Gordon wants him to take him out because he was really sick of him just being out there, but he refused to do it. And even got to a point where two things you never thought would happen. One, Joker just giving himself up. Batman actually offered to still help him even though he was deranged and crazy and did all this stuff. And Joker actually just
it was too late.
Yeah, it was too late for him. He knew all the stuff he had done. It was over. He just pretty much turned himself in with him. And then the second thing is that he finally made Batman laugh.
Yes.
And the joke was actually funny. But it was ironic, the joke was funny. And the movie just kind of stops there. You know he's going to get arrested. You know it's over. And the movie
going to go to Arkham and one day soon get out.
Right. So the movie just kind of stops there and ends. There's no fade out music, dramatic ending, nothing. It just stops with the two of them actually laughing. And the closest thing you're going to get to them being relaxed, and then the movie's over. So it was kind of like a strange yet ironic way to end it because of how you've seen every single Joker and Batman movie end and how it escalates. It escalates and then it quiets down and then it's over, which is really different from how these other Batman movies usually go.
Right. And I also want to bring up Batgirl. And Batgirl has been portrayed as a very womanly, shapely character who's brilliant and who's a badass and kicks ass. And she's portrayed the same way here. Also, for those who may not like that portrayal, for us it works here simply because A, this is a character, and B, she's badass and she's brilliant. And to us, it doesn't affect the character or the character portrayal at all. The one thing we do want to warn you though is that emphasis is placed on her sexiness quite a bit in this movie, with shots and one of the villains who just keeps making these lewd and rude comments about her, wanting to get with her. I think it's done intentionally because no matter what he does, you know, she stays level-headed. She knows he's just trying to play her. She's still functioning. She's still being brilliant. And I think it's meant to show that, you know, regardless of how she's being drawn and how she looks, at the core, she's brilliant and she's badass and she's going to take care of business. Don't let how gorgeous she looks fool you. This is a woman who knows how to do her job.
Right.
And so don't go into it thinking that that's the focus of the movie. It's just her looks, because it isn't. It's one way of telling her story. And it's staying true to the way she has been depicted since the very beginning of the DC franchise.
Right. And considering this fits very well for Halloween is because of its theme. While it doesn't have the Halloween day in the movie itself, it has the feel of those types of psychological horror movies.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they do get pretty graphic. They drop a lot of swearing in here, so they're trying to earn the R rating. And they drop a lot of swearing. There's definitely blood. There's definitely gangs and things in here, and a lot of violence and things. But to its credit, it wasn't gratuitous. There were just moments where they had heavy amounts of it, and then it was over.
Right.
Then after a while, then another heavy amount of it, and it was over. They didn't just kind of stretch out violence throughout the entire movie. You knew there were going to be parts of it that had it, and then when it didn't have it, you got a story, and they just had it part of the story, and that was it. It wasn't just nonsense violence the entire time.
Absolutely not. Again, story was a well-told story, which is why you actually end up enjoying this movie, and we didn't expect you. What's also ironic about this is right now, DC has leaned and is intentionally making movies that are R-rated. Whether they be animated or live action.
Right.
This came out long before this turn in DC. So it's almost like a foreshadowing of where they were headed. Kind of like they were making this movie. They made this comic and then they made the movie to get their feet wet and see how it would be received by fans of DC. And it was received very well. Looks like they waited until they thought it was a good time to go ahead and take the comic book company in this direction.
Right. Especially with the fact that the Joaquin Phoenix take on the Joker backstory movie, where it treated Joker as a sympathetic villain, it actually worked in his favor.
Oscar-worthy.
Yes. And this one, for us, now we have not seen the Joker live action movie at the time of this recording, but this felt more like this is what the live action movie was trying to be. But instead of saying, oh, it's the city's fault, he is turned into a monster, it just shows circumstances happen and it brought him down and he was unstable himself. When he actually wasn't that bad, he just was so torn down by everything, he snapped.
And I think also it showed the dichotomy of Batman had his own issues.
Right.
So they both were being shown to be two sides of the same coin. I'm sorry. One not as violent as the other and as psychotic as the other. But when you watch the movie, they each had their own issues.
Right.
He was still Batman, loyal to the city, loyal to protecting the city he loves, but he has issues as well as Joker.
And one last thing you should definitely highlight is that they even have the audacity to have a musical number in here. With Joker, Mark Hamill got to sing about going loony. It was like, what? It was like, is this supposed to be funny, or and it's supposed to be a torture, and it's not? It's like, what's going on?
Let us know what you think. So, if you have seen The Killing Joke, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't, we actually do recommend you see it. If you are not one for more of the darker, more violent DC movies,
which you understand,
this isn't for you. But if you are kind of like an omnivore in terms of what you like viewing, different genres, The Killing Joke is actually a movie that has earned its popularity. Give it a try and let us know what you think in the comments below.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Met her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the form of a locket.